welcome everyone. I am Beth Poss, and you are here for the kickoff webinar for the CTD 3-week course, the use of mobile apps with children birth to 8 years, teaching the swipe generation. This is webinar 1. Some of you might be here for this, and some of you might be here for the whole shebang. So I'm going to take everybody for a little tour of the Learning Center, the CTD Learning Center, just so that everybody can see what we're going to be doing above and beyond the webinar. And then we'll get into the webinar. As you can see,
I'm going to mute for now, okay? So then we can
as you can see, if you need to get a hold of me, my email is there, possbeth@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter @possbeth. All of the apps that I'm going to be showing today and all of the apps that I am going to be showing over the next 3 weeks, you can find on my Pinterest page. And the last slide of the presentation today actually has some other resources as well for a lot of the research and everything. And I'm going to take you guys in. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to share my screen with everyone and take everybody into the CTD website for a moment. So we're going to switch over. And here we go. So we should be, if everybody hopefully can see what I'm seeing, in the Center on Technology and Disability website in the course that that you all are taking. Which is in week 1, recommendations for use of mobile apps with children birth to age 8. And if you scroll down, I'm going to go into our tools. And if you scroll, so I went to the tools. And if you scroll down, you'll see all of the lessons. So we have the webinar today. And then week 1, the lesson has 2 more components in addition to the webinar. If you're doing the 3-week course and you want the CEUs, and you would click on that, and it would take you, you can see our objectives and the lesson components, and it would take you there to links that you would have for our instructional activity that we're going to be doing. I'm going to hit back. That said a little error. And then some week 1 discussion questions. And so you'll be going into the forum and answering a couple of questions, how to use technology with young children, and how you'll apply what you've learned from the webinar in your early learning environment. So that's just a little tour of the CTD website to be able to go into for the follow-up to the webinar. So I'm going to switch back over to the webinar now and stop sharing my screen and be back at the at the PowerPoint. And I believe that if it's not already uploaded to the CTD website, that the PowerPoint will also be uploaded. I have a lot of links in the PowerPoint for anybody that wants to be able to download the PowerPoint to be able to gain access to all of those links. So I saw this on Facebook recently, and it really spoke to me when I was thinking about this webinar and this webinar series. So a little image on there. Today, 2-year-olds can unlock a phone, open and close their favorite apps all by themselves. When I was that age, I was eating dirt. So today's 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds are doing a whole lot more with technology than probably any of us were doing. And I'll out myself. I'm 51, so I didn't even dream of any of this technology when I was a 2-year-old. Some of you may be much, much younger and may have grown up with technology, but I doubt anybody was doing with technology when they were 2 what 2-year-olds are doing today. So we're here today to really look at that. And today, by the end of the session, all of you hopefully will be able to understand the recommendations of national policymakers in medical and educational professions. You'll learn the differences between solitary, non-interactive uses of media and social interactive uses of media. You will learn the difference between technology for enhancement of learning and assistive technology within the context of a universally designed for learning early childhood environment. And hopefully you'll learn even a whole lot more than that, but that's what we really hope to be able to accomplish today. I would like this to be as interactive as possible, so if you type in the chat window, I really try to keep my eye on that. If you have questions or you have something to add, please, by all means, do so. I know when I was looking at the list of folks, there are some really amazing, fabulous educators that signed up for this, and I'd love to hear your input. So are you excited? I am really, really excited. I am excited to share some of the stuff that I've been doing over the last year or two with mobile technology with young children. I currently am a coordinator with Montgomery County Public Schools Infants and Toddlers program, and over the last 2 years we started a pilot, and now we've moved out of the pilot phase, of using iPads in particular with our families to model developmentally appropriate use of technology. We go out into families' homes and serve children, and we're finding that lots of families were using technology in many ways, but often not in developmentally appropriate ways with children. And yet it was very integral into their families' lives. And so we were really looking at how can we help coach and model appropriate use of technology with families. And so this is sort of where all of this came out of. So what are your thoughts, though? We're going to talk about the thoughts and guidelines that are out there, but what are your thoughts? Type in the chat window and let me know. Do you think that children under the age of 5 should have minimal screen time? Do you think, and it might be, you might disagree or agree with more than one of these statements, that children 2 and under should have no screen time, that some screen time is okay, even for infants and toddlers, or that it doesn't matter how much screen time young children get. So let me know. Tell me what you think. I really am interested. And then we're going to take a look at what the experts and authorities out there are saying. So I see people. So Pam says that some screen time is okay, and Shelby says children under 2 should have no screen time. Tracy West says 1, so she thinks children under the age of 5 should have minimal screen time. Joe B says all things in moderation. Debbie says some screen time's okay. Kelly says, I think what they are viewing or doing with the screen time is more relevant than how much they're getting. Eric says, I'm curious what screen time does for attention and general brain development, and that's why he's hesitant. Ashley says, I seem to read conflicting articles by seemingly reputable writers about what's appropriate for young children. So keep typing in your ideas, but I'm going to go on, and we're going to start looking and talking about some of the policy statements that we can use to guide our use, and some perceptions and misconceptions from them. So the National Association for the Education of Young Children, the American Academy of Pediatrics, 0 to 3 organization, and the RAND group are the ones that I'm going to refer to the most as far as statements that we really can use to guide our use. And Jackie says it's not about the number of times, but the content appropriateness. So, and if you download the PowerPoint at some point, you can have links to all of these policy statements. But I see a typo in mine. I hate that. New guidelines from AAP should be a capital P. Sorry about that. So this is so exciting because I did this webinar, not this webinar, I did a version of this webinar, sort of a condensation, a condensed of all 3 that we're doing in a much shorter amount of time, back in July. And since then, the American Academy of Pediatrics has come out to say that they are developing new guidelines. That the guidelines that from 2011 that people had been working from, which had been interpreted pretty strictly as, no screen time for young children under the age of 2, which was really about passive television watching and video watching, not about interactive technology. It was in 2011, before iPads and other mobile technology were being used or widely used at all, the infancy of the iPad and other mobile tablets. So they just recently, just this month, came out with a list of points that are going to go to their new guidelines. And these points are that parenting has not changed, that role modeling is critical, that we learn from each other, that content matters, curation helps, co-engagement counts, playtime is important, set limits, create tech-free zones, and that kids will be kids. I just think this is so exciting because it's finally kind of stepping away from that, well, children under the age of 2 should have 0 screen time, which what it meant before was really minimal exposure to passive television watching, not interactive social use of technology. But now they're saying that parenting hasn't changed. We should still be good parents, but that we can learn from each other and that the content that we use and how we curate that and co-engagement counts. So this is really, really exciting to me. And I'm really eager to see the formal statement. There is a link there to their less formal statement, but I think that's critical. National Association of Education of Young Children came out in 2012 with a policy statement that they crafted with the Cooney Center and the Fred Rogers Institute. And what they really came out and said is that devices and content and user experience has really been blurred by what they called multi-touch screens and movement-activated technologies that detect and respond to a child's movement. And so this group, National Association of Education of Young Children, said that with guidance from parents, from educators, these various technology tools can be harnessed for learning and development. But without guidance, usage can be inappropriate or interfere with learning and development. So if you look back at what now AAP is saying is that co-engagement, playtime, content, we learn from each other. We need guidance. So there, the NAEYC policy statement said that, there has to be guidance for early childhood educators. It needs to be interactive versus non-interactive or solitary. We need to really define what we mean by screen time. Is it passive watching or is it active use? That technology, we really need to look at technology for technology's sake versus using technology as a means to an end. That the importance of assistive technology is critical for us to consider when we're thinking about young children with disabilities, and that we need to ensure that any use of technology and media serves as a way to strengthen adult-child relationships. And that effective uses of technology and media are active, hands-on, engaging, and empowering. So we're going to continue to look at this a little bit more. When they talk in particular about birth to 2-year-olds, NAEYC said that there are appropriate uses of technology for infants and toddlers, including using digital photos, participating in interactions, co-viewing ebooks, and engaging with some interactive apps. But that we should be cautious and limit the amount of screen time. And as with all activities with young children, ensure that the use of technology and media serves as a way to strengthen adult-child relationships. Makes sense. We shouldn't be putting that device out there as a babysitter to occupy a child for hours on end. But use of it in social, interactive, learning-motivated ways can be a good thing. So we know, whether we're a parent or whether we're an educator, that play is central to children's development and learning. And that their interaction with technology and media should mirror their interactions with other play materials, that it should include sensory motor experiences, make-believe, games with rules, and we need to give young children the opportunity to explore technology and interactive media in this playful, creative way. Anybody disagree with me there? I'm not seeing any no's come across my screen. Okay. So the RAND Corporation talked about the idea of moving beyond screen time, and that there are 6 considerations that we need to take into account when we look at technology use. So the first one is it purposefully integrated to support learning? Number 2, is it solitary or is it taking place with others? Number 3, is the activity sedentary or mobile? Number 4, what are the content and features of the media? Number 5, are the device's features age appropriate? And number 6, what's the total screen time involved? So there's actually been some research that was done when we talked looking at video conferencing for babies, and it showed that infants are able to distinguish between an adult interacting with them in real time in a video chat and a video that's not directed at them, like that passive, the television watching of something. This was shown that they could see changes in the baby's affect when the video chat was out of sync. So when it didn't match, like what was on the face, didn't match with what they were hearing, they were much more likely to tune out and to not be engaged in it. That they were more comforted by their mother's voice and face together via a video chat than just audio, just telephone alone. And that when the video chat interactions were facilitated by an adult with them, it supported it and it improved their perception of it as a real, that was really what they were seeing was that real person on the other end. So that these can be meaningful for children. So 0 to 3, the organization 0 to 3 did some research on 2-dimensional versus 3-dimensional. And what they talked about in that is called the transfer deficit. And what their research showed is that it is easier for young children, this should not be a shocker to anybody, that it's easier for young children to comprehend information from real-life experiences with people and objects compared with information delivered via a screen. That makes perfect sense, that things that are happening with them in real life make more sense than things happening on a flat screen. And that this is all related to what's called the transfer deficit. And it's that children who are less than 2 years old do not have the symbolic thinking skills necessary to understand independently that what they see on the screen is a stand-in or a symbol for the real thing. However, what they found is that when you paired those 2D or screen experiences with 3D or real-life experiences, that it reduced that transfer deficit, that it overcame the barrier of not understanding that what they see on the screen is a stand-in for the real thing. And that to use information they take in from the 2D world, so pairing those experiences with real experiences to transfer it to real-world situations. And that when we provide repeated opportunities to pair the 3D and the 2D together, it improves their understanding. So that idea that we shouldn't be just doing tech-only experiences with young children, that we have to combine the real experience with the tech experience. And we're going to look at some contrasts with that. So all of the research says that content matters, that what we use with kids makes a difference. There's tons and tons and tons. If you go on the App Store and you search early childhood education, early childhood or education apps for young children, you would find hundreds and hundreds and thousands. So let's talk about what makes an effective early childhood app. Needs to be, and these are my synthesis of the what I've read from the research and what my feelings are when I use apps with children, that I really believe strongly that an app that you use with a young child needs to be open-ended to support play and problem solving, as opposed to there's only one way to do things and you get the same experience happens every time you use that app. Okay, that's not positive. Open-ended apps are positive. That an app needs to promote literacy, language, and vocabulary development, problem solving, without what I would like to call drill and kill. It needs to include rich, engaging activities that invite a high degree of interactivity and control by the user. So as opposed to passively just following it along, that child is really controlling what happens on the screen. That an effective early childhood app encourages movement, both fine motor and gross motor as well. That it enhances and encourages interactions with adults or peers, rather than promoting just solitary exploration. I feel really strongly that it needs to be culturally diverse and free of stereotypes, and that it needs to meet a developmental need. So with that 0 to 3, going back to that transfer deficit, really need to be able to participate in the screen experience and make it a language-rich, interactive activity, and to create that transfer from 2D to 3D, to make that connection. So that if you're playing with a child on what I think is a really wonderful app, Play Home, My Play Home, there's My Play Home, My Play School, there's a number of them. Don't just play in the kitchen, in the My Play Home app, but play in the pretend kitchen or play in the real kitchen. Point out and label objects in real life that the child's seen on TV or on touch screens, and play with, if they're playing on the screen, play with the same things that they've seen on the screen. So whether it's books or a ball or kitchen, any of those things. That's really how you overcome that transfer deficit with kids, with young children. So it's really about balancing technology-based activities with non-tech activities. So if you're playing with a great app, Wooden Blocks for Kids, that's the name of the app that you're seeing the image there, you should also be playing with real wooden blocks with kids. It's not one replacing the other, but balancing them so that kids get those opportunities to learn all the great, important problem-solving, vocabulary, mathematic, and language skills that come with playing with blocks, or whatever the app is focused on. So let's look at some different apps and how we can use technology to promote language literacy and problem solving. So I'm going to show you one of my favorite apps. It's called Faces for Kids. And there's a video here which I think is really great. But I think I'm going to go ahead and try to flip over to my iPad and share this app with you. This is one of those what I like to call really all-purpose apps. It is totally open-ended. It really meets all the criteria. There's cultural diversity in it. It can get into language, problem solving. So I'm going to pull it up first on my computer, on my iPad. And let me find the right iPad. It's the problem when you've got so many apps that you've got more than one iPad to pull them up on. And come back. And I am going to share my screen so that you guys will see. Oops, come back here. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see what is coming on. Okay. So hopefully everybody can see my iPad right now with the face there. So we could see that there's a wide variety of faces that might appeal to children to be able to play with. And then I can turn my wheel, and I can find some different eyes, and we could talk about where do the eyes go. And, there's not a right answer. I mean, I could put the eyes wherever I want them on the screen. I'll try to put them in the right place, but it would be really funny if I put them down there. And then I could keep choosing different eyes. I mean, there's lots of different eyes for me to choose from, all different shapes and sizes and colors. But I could turn the wheel, and I could find a nose. And again, I could be kind of silly with where my nose goes because this is open-ended. I don't have to have the right answer. And I can turn this, and I can find a mouth. I can keep going, and I could put some hair on his head. Maybe we can give him some eyebrows too. And I don't know. I don't know if I want him to have a mustache. Let's see. We'll keep going. I could change the color of his shirt because maybe he's wearing a red shirt today. Oh, and I think maybe he needs some heart sunglasses there as well. So you can see we could really get into some nice play, concepts, language. We could switch it around. We could get into a discussion like, I don't know, which ones do you want? Do you want the purple flower sunglasses? Or do you want the red heart sunglasses? And we could really get in and play with that. So you can see how that really can be just a delightful app that really meets that criteria that I was talking about. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and flip back to the PowerPoint. I'm just waiting for the PowerPoint to come back on the screen. Just waiting for the PowerPoint to come back on the screen. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so again, that really, Faces for Kids is really meets all of my criteria there. It's fine motor more than gross motor, but it might encourage a kid to go and find their sunglasses, or to get out a drawing pad and to do, something like that, or to go and find, I want to go get the hat that matches the hat that we put on that face for that child. So again, really, really goes to that. If we keep talking about movement with kids, there are some great apps out there. Apps are not necessarily all about being sedentary. There's some wonderful apps. Dexteria Junior is a great app for working on letter formation and getting feedback on that. And then a real open-ended app like Drawing Pad, which allows just a whole host of different activities within it, and I will pull that up too. Moves Like Me and Yogaverse are wonderful apps that encourage gross motor movement. So Moves Like Me encourages the child to copy what the movement of a funny character on the screen is doing. And Yogaverse is a yoga app for children, which encourages them to get into different yoga positions at a very childlike level. And so it really is able to encourage that motor movement for kids. So I'm going to switch over, I'm going to switch over to my iPad, which is being non-cooperative at the moment. Okay, oh, there we go. All right, so I'm going to go back and, come back screen. I've just lost my screen. Hang on a second. There we go. I'm going to go and I'm going to share my screen again with you. And the PowerPoint, Cindy asks, is the PowerPoint available? Yes, it is available in the Learning Center for you to download. I'm going to flip over to my screen. Okay, so you can see now I've got my my drawing pad, and it starts off, it's great, it starts off with just plain paper, and you've got a drawer that you can pull out, and you've got all these different, I'm just swiping with my finger, all these different tools that I can get into. So I could decide I wanted to use a paintbrush, and I have all these different colors that I can choose and widths of brushes that I can use to paint with. I can go and see all different colors that I have. If I hit my home button, I can go back to the different tools. So I could choose crayons instead. I could choose stamps. I love the stamps that they have in here, including the fact that you can put, at the top, you can put your own pictures in and use them as stamps and stickers or as backgrounds, but I could stamp vehicles and move them around on the screen, and you can see I could then choose to lock them or not. And there's just so many great different stamps and stickers to choose from, in addition to all the drawing tools. Nice for kids who might have some fine motor needs and maybe are not as successful in typical drawing activities as others. So again, just a great, wonderful, open-ended app for kids to use with just a really wide range of different tools in there. I'm going to go flip back to the PowerPoint. And Anna Marie said that the PowerPoint is available in the bottom right pod on the screen. So I see it over there. So you can download it when we're done, or to be able to hook into that. And so I just need my PowerPoint back up. And here it comes. So again, looking at that gross and fine motor. Technology to promote self-regulation. So again, that yoga, visual schedule apps, there's just a whole range of them. The one that you're seeing the image there is a Sesame Street app that is really adorable and delightful, and it's called it is called Breathe, and then I'm actually going to show you, though. It's called Breathe, Think, Do with Sesame Street, but I'm actually going to show you. I'm going to show you one that I used actually. I actually used it with my own staff today. We were a little stressed out about some changes that are happening in our program, and it is an app that is called Settle Your Glitter. So I'm going to go again, and I'm going to share my screen with you. And we're going to take a look at Settle My Glitter. So I love it because it gets to how kids might be feeling emotionally. It's very simple. It's not overwhelming. And so maybe the child is feeling a little bit silly. And then it asks them to push next. And you can see how this would really not only work on those emotions, but really work on interactions and reflecting. So are you feeling really silly or a little bit silly or not at all? Well, maybe we'll just go for a little bit silly. And then we shake our iPad to get it started. So I'm going to shake it to get it started. And then it says, let's try some mindful breathing. And I'm looking for my glitter to come out. There should be some glitter there. I wonder if the glitter's not showing up because I'm sharing it on my iPad. There should be a whole bunch of glitter in that ball. And we breathe in and out with our little pufferfish guy, and the glitter would be settling. I don't know why the glitter is not showing up right there, but it prompts the child to breathe in and out, to kind of get into that mindful breathing, take, away from whatever it was that was upsetting or making them silly or making them worried or making them scared until the glitter settles in the ball. We're not seeing any glitter right now, but that's okay. We can live with that. So that is called Settle My Glitter. I love it because it's really nice and simple. And usually the glitter's right there. So I'm not sure why. So we'll wait for that to come back, the PowerPoint to come back. What was the name of that last app? Was called Settle Your Glitter. Settle Your Glitter. I don't know why the glitter wasn't showing. It worked wonderfully with 60 adults that I had to work with this morning. So it's not just for kids, which is great. And the Sesame Street Monster one is called Breathe, Think, Do with Sesame Street. And it prompts kids through a whole series of let me flip back. It prompts kids through a whole series of things to help. The monster was having a hard day, and he couldn't tie his shoes, and he got really frustrated. And so it takes them through a whole set of routines that kids can do to help them settle down and problem solve. So it's almost like it's a social story with Sesame Street characters. So let's talk a little bit about universal design for learning. So how many people are familiar? If you're familiar with universal design for learning, go ahead and type something in. And CD Doherty, will we receive a list of all the apps you're using? So all the apps that I am showing today, next week, and the week after are all on my Pinterest page. There was a link for it on the front of the screen, and there'll actually be a link at the very end. So they're all in there. I'll pull up that Pinterest page before we finish today to show you some sort of how I organize things within that to help you find what you're looking for. So we'll take a look at that. So Joe B, is that my friend Joseph Benamati? He says yes. And M Plankers love UDL. Joe B says yes. And Eric's heard it mentioned but not familiar. Good. Well, we're going to tell you about it. UDL rocks. Cindy says yes. So I'm going to, while you all are typing in, it seems like we've got some people that know it a lot. Some people might have heard about it but don't really know. And we're going to put it in the context of early childhood for you today in any case. So universal design for learning is a framework for guiding educational practice. It provides flexibility in the ways that information is presented, in the ways that we are providing options for students to respond or demonstrate their knowledge and skills, and in the ways that students are engaged. And in addition, it reduces barriers in instruction, provides appropriate accommodation, supports, and challenges, and maintains high achievement expectations for all children, including students with disabilities and students who are limited English proficient. So it's really a way of setting up a learning environment, and I really say learning environment and not just a classroom, because when we're talking early childhood, there are many different types of learning environments, and in school for school-age kids for that matter too, that really provides flexibility, that provides choice to support all learners. And so let's look about it in the context. Okay, so there's three principles. The first is that there's multiple and flexible means of representation, or how we present information. The second is that there's multiple and flexible means of action and expression of learning by children or students, so how kids let us know what they know, and that there's multiple and flexible means of engaging and maintaining the engagement of the learner. That's the three big ideas behind it. When we talk about the goal of UDL, it's really to build purposeful, motivated, resourceful, knowledgeable, and strategic goal-directed learners. And it's really, really important that educators have in their heads that there is not one best way to learn, that there is not one best way to demonstrate attainment of proficiency of a standard, and that there is not one best way to motivate or to engage. So whether it is traditional sitting on your lap and reading a board book, or whether it's digital reading, there's not a right or a wrong way, provided that we are using those tools, whether it's that print book or that technology, in an appropriate way that that child can be engaged with. That's really like UDL in a nutshell. So when we talk about it in an early childhood setting, I think instinctively or naturally, UDL tends to be, early childhood tends to be UDL, but it doesn't mean that we can't make it more UDL. So providing choice in materials used with students, both in teacher-led instruction and used independently by students. So if the activity is to, let's say you've just read I Went Walking, and you're going to paint a pig, you're going to have a pig as an art activity afterwards, that there should be a choice of those materials, that not every child is going to be engaged by sponge painting or finger painting the brown paint mud on the pink pig cutout, that another child might do better with Play-Doh, or another child might do better finger painting, one child might do better with sponges, one child might prefer to use magic markers, that there's choice, that there's different ways. Or it might be that the pig is of no interest, but they'd really like to make that duck or that cat or the dog from the book. So there's a choice in materials. That we enhance and extend opportunities for communication and interaction. So we provide more than one way for the child to become engaged and interact in the activity. So whether it's using signs or using their words or using a voice output system or using pictures, that there's more than one way that a child can interact. That we provide play-based resources that can be accessed by the widest range of children possible, including those with physical, sensory, developmental disabilities, self-regulation challenges, English language learners, or just late bloomers. And that promotion of best practices with young children, we do that by providing multisensory, engaging learning experiences that meet varied developmental needs. And so when we talk about that, those might be the places that we bring technology in. Because maybe that child with the physical disability can't turn the pages of a book as easily. So maybe we have an ebook, a regular book, and maybe we also have books that have, the old-fashioned page fluffers and board books, and we provide lots of options with that. For our play, it might be that we've got the block corner, but we also have the blocks on the iPad, different ways of providing that. We wouldn't just provide it with technology, because that wouldn't be multisensory. That wouldn't be accessing by the widest range of children possible. So from UDL, we can move into assistive technology. They're not synonymous, but they are complementary. So when we are looking for making our learning environment as flexible as possible, with as many options as possible, we may include technology that then for some children becomes assistive technology because they need that in order to participate and address their developmental needs. And there are some misperceptions and misconceptions around assistive technology that sometimes create limited recommendations for AT or AAC, augmentative and alternative communication, in young children. People wouldn't necessarily debate that they might need it as they get older, but that perspective that a couple of different things, that children with disabilities have to have an understanding of cause and effect or other cognitive skills before they can effectively use an AT device. There's a number of studies that talk about that challenge, that there is no prerequisite for use of AT or use of an AAC tool, that we can introduce it before certain skills are demonstrated, because we are going to presume competence with children. The second misconception that's out there is that providers, and often parents as well, believe that using assistive technology, whether it's a voice output device, picture symbols, any other type of assistive technology that a child might need, means that they're giving up on the child being able to independently learn to perform a particular skill independently. And there's multiple studies out there that show that it does not impede their ability to develop speech or to develop other skills, and that it is often instead a bridge to those skills. And I think sometimes, that, when we talk about AAC as alternative communication, that it really needs to be like bridge to communication instead of an alternative means of communication, that it can be a bridge. For many children, it can be a bridge to oral language. So those are just misperceptions. I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but wanted to make sure that that was out there, and that we can help combat those misconceptions for young children, that we need to provide children early on with rich opportunities to support their developmental needs. I'm glad, Hildy, that you like that bridge to communication. It's one I use a lot. That is, we're not replacing it. We're not stopping it. We are going to bridge to it. And there are a lot of apps out there as assistive technology. I think a majority of the apps, and next week we're going to talk a lot more about augmentative communication apps with kids, but a lot of the apps that are out there as assistive technology are focused on communication with young children. But there's also ones that are access to literacy, access to play, sometimes things that are not even billed as assistive technology become assistive technology for children. And again, we'll look at some more in greater detail when we look at math in a couple of weeks and literacy and language next week. And also then the use of visual supports and visual schedules. So a lot of people might be familiar with this is just one of many AAC apps that's available, is the Go Talk Now. I'm actually not going to pull this up right now. We'll look at some of this more in detail. Go Talk Now is just one of many AAC apps that's available. It's for communication, for that bridging communication, that's very customizable. But it could also be used for literacy curriculum. It is switch accessible, dual, single, has auditory prompts. And this is just a picture of a real simple board that you might use with a young child. You might have a more complex board as well. With the idea, one of the things that I like about the Go Talk Now is that there's this little, you see the little strip where it says core vocabulary. That's always available, and you can customize that for whatever you want. I put on there more, stop, want, and go, and the idea that that's vocabulary that could be used in any situation. And then I could put some more content-based vocabulary, such as bubbles or pretzels or swing, behind that, so that they could be saying, I want more bubbles, or stop bubbles, or go swing, or go bubbles. Maybe they mean go bubbles like go away, or they mean go bubbles like go get the bubbles. So just one of the AAC apps that's out there, and we'll look at a few more, and we'll talk next week about the challenges that are presented by the prevalence of AAC apps that parents have such easy access to, and the challenges of balancing professional expertise with the ease of parents, the fabulous ease of parents being able to get things without enormous expense. Visual schedules, so that, AAC apps or communication apps are often for children being able to express language, but visual schedules are a way to make auditory language more meaningful, that reception into the child. And the FTVS is the first then visual schedule app, and it is it's a great little app. It's not free. The apps that I'm showing, they range from free to the Go Talk Now is probably the most expensive app on there, which a single license for the Go Talk app runs about $70, but when you have multiple purchases of it, it goes down. The first then visual schedule app is about $14, and I'm just looking at my time. I don't want to I don't want to go over. So if I have some time, I'll pull that back up. But the nice thing is it allows you to present a visual schedule in multiple ways. Kids can check it off with the little check mark there. They can use it in a box. They can swipe it to put it in a virtual envelope. And it includes, you can include audio, choice boards within it, videos to show kids the stuff. It's just a really, really rich app. And a little trick I had was I actually made a visual schedule of how to program in it to create a visual schedule as a visual schedule for my staff that were using it, if that makes any sense. So I made a visual schedule for them for the steps to using First Then Visual Schedule. And that was the way that they learned how to use the app. That was fun, practical. So let's talk a little bit about, well, you know what? I have a couple minutes. So I am going to flip over and show you First Then Visual Schedule. Let me switch to the right iPad. First Then Visual Schedule, and pull up my if my screen wants to cooperate with being able to pull up my iPad. My fingers aren't swiped. Ah, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you guys one last time today. Actually, I'm going to lie because I'm going to pull up my Pinterest page too. So I'm going to share it with you one other time after this. And we're going to look at, you should be seeing my screen right now, and we're going to go into First Then Visual Schedule. And you can see, so that's a getting dressed one. So this happens to be one of the ones that's pre-programmed on there, but which is fine. So you could see I could just go through, well, we're going to put your shirt on, and then we're going to put your underwear on. I could look at it that way. I could switch to just one picture and then the next. So first we do this, and then we do this. And then we can continue to scroll down. I could move it over to that kind of traditional envelope there, so I can, you know, the way we've done things low-tech. I could, let's see if I uncheck my, I've done everything. I've got all my clothes on, so I have nothing to move over. You can see how we can move those over. So that's First Then Visual Schedule. And again, you can have auditory, you can have videos included in it. And you can also print them, and they email as PDFs, so it's nice. You can easily create things that you can share low-tech as well with families, which is great. While I have you on here, I'm going to go on to Pinterest and show you that. So I had said that my Pinterest page is linked a couple of places, and I'm just going to continue. Oh, please. It's asking me to log in. Of course. Drives me crazy that you can't just go in and see it. Let's try this one more time before because when you try to do something fast, you always type wrong. Something's not happy with me. Okay, I'm going to try to get out of like having to look at it, but to log in. Okay, we'll just worry about that later because it's not being happy with me being happy logging into my own account. All right, I'm gonna skip back over that. All of my boards are linked with hashtags, so if you're familiar with hashtags, I'm I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. If you're familiar, the horror of Pinterest. I know, why can't they just let me look at that? I recently, I'll give you my backstory to this. I recently had my phone stolen, so I switched all my passwords, and obviously I hadn't logged onto it on I do it mostly from another computer. I hadn't logged onto it since a week ago or 2 weeks ago when I had my phone stolen, and now it's not being happy with me putting in my password. But thank you, Tracy. So with Pinterest, so for example, the first then visual schedule would be hashtagged with self-regulation and communication so that you can organize, the boards are organized in that way. So, and we'll pull that up again when we have a chance. So I'd just like to ask, what are your thoughts now? Because did you know that you could, I'm speaking out of turn. Did you know that you could use hashtags in Pinterest? And then when you click on that hashtag, everything that's organized around that hashtag comes up, just like in Twitter. Isn't that cool? So what are your thoughts now? Mobile technology, about mobile technology. And yes, and my username on Pinterest is PossBeth. You could search for me and follow certain boards, and I'll show you in a minute. You can link directly to my board on the, but yes, I am PossBeth on Pinterest, Ashley. So what are your thoughts about the use of mobile technology? I hope that you, regardless of what you were thinking before, that you're thinking that, hey, maybe mobile technology and apps that can be used in meaningful ways even with the youngest learners, and that while screen time and media should not dominate a young child's play, it can be used effectively to promote language development, play, interactions with peers and adults, and the development of critical preschool skills. But what do you think? Type in the chat window and let me know. If you were really anti-screen time, do you think that there now might be some ways that you could use it? If you thought it didn't matter at all because technology's cool and why shouldn't kids be able to use it, do you think maybe about being a little more critical? So Eric's still curious of some of the research regarding brain development, but I'm encouraged by the recommendations. And I think it really is, I mean, there is absolutely that the technology is absolutely changing the wiring of brains, Eric, but it's really that it's just one more tool in our arsenal of things that we can use, and used appropriately and not overwhelmingly only with kids. It's great. Ashley says she's got a grant for iPads. That's awesome. And in the lives of people now, toddlers, it makes no sense. And that's really, that title came from the swipe generation. It actually came from a book that I read, a novel that I read, where it was in the future, and they called young children swipers because that's how they interacted with everything. So we are now raising the swipe generation. Having kids being able to use technology at a younger age might set them up for better use later. Quality time is important, Kathleen says. Absolutely. And it's quality time with technology or without technology is critical for that. I'm going to advance the slide just a minute. So if you are participating in the course for CEUs, in the discussion section of the course, you're going to respond to the following questions. How do you use technology currently and with young children, and how will you apply what you learned from the webinar in your early learning environment? And then the second piece of the course for the CEUs is an instructional activity. And what I would like you to do is craft we looked at some early learning policy statements and technology guidelines, and I would like you to craft an early learning policy statement, including 3 to 5 sentences that sum up your classroom philosophy for use of technology, a list of recommendations, and a short paragraph detailing your plan for sharing and dissemination of this philosophy. So that's what you're going to do if you are if you're taking this for CEUs. So if If you'd like to meet me in person, I would love to meet you in person. If you're going to be at ATIA in Orlando in February, I am doing a pre-conference workshop on universal design for 21st century learning, and we'll be looking at everything from early learning tools all the way up, so really kind of expanding. That's a full-day pre-conference I'm doing with Chris Bouguet, and then I'm doing a number of regular conference sessions. I'll do one on Twitter 101. So if you have no idea what finding me on Twitter means, that's the one to come to. Twitter 201 is for you've done Twitter and now you want to do more. I'm going to be doing a face-to-face version of Teaching the Swipe Generation, and I am going to have some really cool giveaways with that. I'm really excited. And then I'm going to be a part of PD Smackdown. So please come see me in February at ATIA. Oh, Joe is going to ATIA. Yay. You're welcome, Kelly. There is more. So we've got next week on Tuesday, October 27th, we're going to be focusing on language and literacy. And then Monday, November 2nd, we're going to be looking at play and problem solving. And then all of the articles and policy statements and everything are also available on my Digo, where I am also Poss Beth, and if you put in Swipe Generation as the tag, it will come up, or on my Pinterest page, which I will make sure I am logged into next week to be able to type. So I hope I get to see everybody next week. Thank you, Joe. The Twitter session is really fun, and I do that also with Chris Bouguet, both of the Twitter sessions, and they will be fun. We try to keep them lively and interactive, and I apply movement to what I do face-to-face as well as on iPads with young children. So thanks, everybody, for participating and for sitting in with us today. I hope I see you guys next week, and I hope I get to see all of your wonderful policy statements and discussion questions online. So I will see you virtually or in person sometime soon. And thank you. And if anybody has any great apps or ideas to share, please let me know, either in the chat window or find me on Twitter or email me at possbeth@gmail.com. Jackie or Anna, I'll let you guys take over.